course, very few people get to see the inside of the world headquarters of the Ford Performance Enthusiast Communications Office.
Okay.
Basically, my man cave. Been
Nice.
this way since April 17th of last year when we had to evacuate our Ford offices.
On Mustang Day.
Yeah.
Wow.
March
Any sign of going back?
Well, for most of the guys on the info center, they're doing remote with phones, but I went back to my office at the diagnostic service center. We're part of the parts system because we are consumer facing. So we were over there with vehicle personalization, and I'd say over half that office is not going back. I mean, be honest with you, I mean, I can write, edit, handle calls, emails, all this from my home office, and the coffee's better here.
Okay. What you miss is the interaction.
Oh yeah, there's no question about that, and the ton of Zooms and but that's the part. That's the part that there's something about that old saying, when out of sight, out of mind. So you want to stay in front of all your Ford bosses and stay visible. So we do what we can, but I can't wait to get back on the road. With this roller coaster of COVID, it's hard to say. Some are on, some are off, depending where you're going. So I can't wait to hit the reset button.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way. We're hoping that this coming May general meeting we'll be able to have in person. Number one, because it'll be nice enough to be outside, and number two, because we have a fairly substantial proportion of the members are vaccinated now, so it's relatively safe. But,
yeah, us too. I know my home club Moxham is having their first membership meeting in person now at the American Legion post, limited to 100 people.
Wow.
So usually that club's got 800 members. They can do 250 at a meeting if the food's good, and they're going to have to just limit it. It's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just that's the life that you live.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about this because I know you guys haven't heard a lot of the new stuff that's going on at Ford, and this is an opportunity. Some people don't come to my seminar at Carlisle, and I just don't get a chance to sit down with, normally I would get in the transit van, Jenny and I would hop in and drive out to see the Valley Forge Club in person and set up a projector and hand out stuff. So this is good that you guys took the time out doing this tonight for me. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you doing it. Unfortunately, our president, Bob Parsons, has to work tonight, so he won't be here. We should get some more members soon.
Okay. Like I said, it's for me, it's mostly handing off new information that I don't give online because it's really more club stuff, and it's a challenge. As you know, COVID really punched a lot of clubs in the face last year with not having an event. Their income went, they lost track of members, people passed on because of the virus. It was just a tough time, and we were already in a tough time before COVID with transitioning to new product and new people coming in. A lot of the clubs had the same old people running things, and they're having a hard time finding volunteers to run a car show, and it's the same old folks doing all the heavy lifting, and they didn't seem to be drawing into the young people. So this is the culmination tonight of 5 years of study that we've been on the road putting together. We've showed it to Ford brass, and finally I got some buy-in from the top of the house to say, hey, we have a viable plan now. Let's go tell the clubs about it and move forward. So that's kind of exciting.
Oh, good.
It's good. Usually it's the John Clor comedy show.
Yeah.
And Jenny told me that after so many years, she said, you got to start getting some new stuff.
Yeah.
Who writes your stuff? I said, I got a lot of it from living with you, dear.
There you go.
Yeah, she has a good sense of humor to hang in there with me. I'll tell you that much.
Well, surely the pandemic has put that to the test with a lot of people. You're seeing a lot more of the same person. I used to travel when I was employed, I used to travel 3 days a week. Okay, I was gone, and that, now I'm around all the time. So it's possibly a little more friction sometimes.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll have to see. I don't really know. I know the Pinto Car Club has a stampede. They're driving to Dearborn for the 50th anniversary of the Ford Pinto, and they were going to have, I think they had 90 cars coming to the Product Development Center.
Nice.
On July 23rd, and it just found out today that Ford canceled that show because they don't want that on Ford property.
Wow.
So now I'm scrambling to try to find a place for them in Detroit for 90 cars where they can go on and have a car show because it's not easy. They wanted to go and have it at Ford, Ugh. But that's not till July. I mean, think about that. That's not till July, and already they're clamping down. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but all we can do is go week to week and go from there. Now, did you give me share screen capability? Let's see.
Yes,
Oh,
you
good.
should be able to.
Good. Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through my summit presentation. This is a presentation that we give to clubs that meet in regional groups. And I'll explain all that in a second. And I want to give you guys a heads up because I see you guys as an anchor group out there. You're a stalwart group. People know about Valley Forge. And so I wanted you to play a bigger role in what we're going to be doing in the future with these car clubs, hopefully within the next 36 months. So if you'd like, I can just get rolling on some of the background, and as people join in, at any time, if there are questions, we can stop along the way, and I'll have time for the Q&A at the end.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, then, again, I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. I'm going to go and put my screen up on the board here, and I'm going to show you what I got going on. You know me. First of all, I know I hope you know me, because if you don't, then first of all, I just welcome, and yes, that is your logo. Just want to again thank you for taking the time out. We do enough with our clubs out of our personal time, and to spend some time with Ford is really important for me. So I appreciate.
We aren't seeing your screen yet, John.
You don't see the screen yet? Okay, let's
No.
Share screen. Share. Okay, now
There we go.
I got it.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
Does everybody see that now?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Good custom.
Yeah, that's right. So just so that we know what's going to go on tonight, I'm going to let you in on a bunch of things that are happening and what we spent 5 years researching to help our member clubs and try to get them back on track after we've noticed that we've gotten that point in our lives where clubs are in a transition point. So we've spent the last several years asking, writing down things, talking to people, and this is the culmination of going all around the country. I visited over 150 clubs for the information you're going to get tonight. So hopefully that will be helpful. Again, my name is John Clor. I am the enthusiast communications manager at Ford. If you haven't heard about me or have my books or saw me on the History Channel or in the movies, then you're just really not paying attention. I'm disappointed in you. Because no. So I've been doing this. This is my 25th year at Ford since joining SVT after leaving. In fact, this is my background. I'm not a typical Ford marketing guy, as you can see. And I started out as an editor when journalism was actually journalism and not opinion, and spent 15 years at the Detroit News as an editor. Wound up as a copy chief. Wanted to be the auto writer, but the auto writer at the Detroit News would not retire. Bob Irvin, I think, was 106 when I left. No, he was. I went to AutoWeek, which was Detroit's only weekly car magazine. It was back then. It was actually weekly. Now it's Auto every other week. But back then, that was a cool thing to work at a Detroit-based car magazine and downtown. And what a cool. I mean, man, that was a dream job. Car companies flew you all over the world to drive cars in Europe and racetracks, and fed me great steaks. As you can see there up in the upper left-hand corner, I was skinny at one time. And that's what you get. But SVT happened, and who wouldn't I mean, as an auto writer, all you want to do is have the car companies pay attention to what you say. So by going to SVT and being involved with product, that was the cool move. And I thought that would last forever. But as you can tell, something called the internet happened. I jumped back because I got really missing press cars and loved driving everybody else's car and wrecking their tires. Then wound up as SVT Marketing Communications. I did the SVTOA websites. I did the SVT websites, did all their magazines, their newsletters. I went, when SVT folded, I went over to racing. I created Fast News from Ford Racing, which now is Fast News for Ford Performance. Hope some of you still get it. And did their magazines. And then I ran FordPerformance.com, and now I run Ford Performance, the entire enthusiast section. Everything you read there is all my efforts to try to communicate with you. It's my platform. And now a new website, which is Ford Performance Club Connect, where you can connect directly with the stuff I want to give you. And I also do the outreach part, which is really the fun part. And don't tell anybody, but the reason I do that is because you don't get cool stories sitting at a desk in Dearborn. You get cool stories by hanging out with the clubs and going to their shows and meeting people, because all the cool people are out there, not at a desk in Dearborn. So that's why I do it. So anyway, that's my background. And the only reason we have this program is because back when I was at racing and Henry Ford III, Etzel's son, was my boss. It dawned on upper management that, you know, almost every single Ford vehicle has a club. I mean, I just mentioned the Pinto Club. They have 5,500 members. And I mean, every name of a Ford vehicle, and there's a club for it. I mean, Escort. I mean, I mean, the 2 weeks after Mercury was killed by Elena Ford, they told me to go speak at the convention. That was fun. You know, you walk into the Holiday Inn, there's 500 people in the banquet room, and I go up to the microphone and I go, "Ladies and gentlemen, I had nothing to do with it." I mean, what are you going to say? But the fact of the matter is, Ford, unlike a lot of other car companies, for some reason, our products resonate with people to the point that they want to have a club. And that's why there is such a thing as a club outreach, and why we have developed such an army of enthusiasts that Ford needs to take care of them and promote them and interact with them. So that's the purpose of Club Connect. So why we're kind of gravitating towards Mustang, because Mustang's been in market all these 57 years, and unlike some of those cars which have not been in market, and also it's hard not to fall in love with a Mustang. If you've owned a Mustang and not liked it, then you have some kind of thing, some kind of mental disorder. You need to doctor's a chemical imbalance, and you just know, because look at some of these pictures show. I mean, some of these guys are over 50 or 60, and they get out in their car and they act like it's senior skip day, and they do burnouts. And what's wrong with you guys? I mean, really? I mean, these cars make you feel like children, and still today, you know, 480 horsepower in a Mustang GT. Come on. I mean, that's unheard of, but that's us. That's why performance and style, the two things Ford oozes when it comes to Mustang, still matters, and why I kind of gravitate towards that when I have my associate Marcus Cervantes. He's doing Bronco and all those other fun things. So the reason I say that, because some cars are not all about style and heritage. You've long heard me talk about new cars. Some of the import models don't have heritage. So what do you do when you don't have heritage? You, I don't know, hire some dancing hamsters. You can do that. And they go, "Oh, that's cool. Look, my car's cool." Dempsey, you know, you get a gimmick, because Mustang's 57 years of honest to God heritage and doesn't need a gimmick, but some cars do. So we need to appreciate that we don't have gimmicks in the Mustang world. Now, was this guy a gimmick to anybody? Anybody? No. Carroll Shelby is the real deal. That guy, when, I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet him, but he was just he was bigger than life. And what he did, everything he touched was just absolutely amazing. He's an American legend, not a gimmick. We don't need it. Oh, by the way, was this guy a gimmick? No. I mean, watch him drive. And I remember when I was told to go speak to the Chinese journalists coming to the US, because we're going to export S550 to China. So they sent about 50 people over, and at the Automotive Hall of Fame in their theater, I gave a 50-year overview of the Mustang history, and I couldn't get anything out of the Chinese journalists. And I know some of them spoke English. I spoke through an interpreter. But it wasn't until I showed this very slide, what you're looking at right now, where they jumped out of their seats, grabbed their cell phones, and said, "Bullet, bullet, bullet," because they knew what bullet was. To them, I found out later, bullet personified the Ford Mustang and Ford Motor Company for the Chinese people, because this movie apparently was black marketed back in the 60s and they watched it. So it's a real cool thing. And you can say what you want, you guys, I know, but she wasn't a gimmick. 60 million people tuned into Charlie's Angels on Thursday nights. And when Edsel Ford in 1976 tried to get a Cobra model launched, and Ford was launching its own Stallion model, they actually told Edsel, you're not going to sell a nickel, then we're going to buy the Stallion is the one they're going to want. And after Farah drove around in that car, 26,000 orders for Cobras came in. They had to take the program in-house. It was so popular. And now if you think we still do gimmicks on our Cobras, this beast that's going away now, the 350, not a gimmick. If you've ever heard one on the racetrack or heard it, this is an honest to God race car with a license plate. And it's everything that Carroll would have built had he been alive. And oh, by the way, the new one we have now, oh man, this thing should be illegal, and probably will be shortly if we're not careful. But this is the culmination of 57 years of Mustang dominance in this market. It's the pony car to end up. It owns 760 horsepower. And it's amazing. And oh, by the way, yeah, what's that? Yeah, the GT500. Carl Widman, the chief engineer, is picking up his he's getting a Mach 1, and he said between the GT500 and Mach 1, these are the glory days of Mustang. Speaking of this is the new Raptor. The Raptor is not a toy truck with some big shock absorbers on it. It doesn't say RAM on the back like that's what you're supposed to do with it. This is a real honest to God runner, and it can take, its capability is scary, but still very popular. And we can even do cool Ford tricks with sport utilities now. If you haven't yet experienced an ST in the Edge or Explorers, and you drive these things, you go, wow, I can't believe this is an SUV. So a little bit of Ford performance and Mustang magic winds up in these cars as well. And of course, if you have one of these, could you call me after this and lend me some money? Because these things are absolute. This car will never not be cool. I mean, if you haven't seen it in person, it's ungodly beautiful, ungodly fast, and there's really nothing like it on the planet. And then why did we go do that? 50 years to the day after we beat Ferrari in 1966, we went back to Le Mans, and this time instead of a 427 big block, we used a V6 EcoBoost out of an F-150. Now, why would we do such a thing? Well, because we could, and we're Ford. And we beat them again, by the way. So that was great. So the cool thing is, you guys, the reason why your club is cool, and you're cooler than, I hate to say this, I'm going to say it. No, I'm not sorry. You're cooler than all your friends, okay? You are, because you're in a Mustang club and you understand these products like other people don't get it. So when you have heritage and you have the history that Mustang has, you have things that come out and come and go, and products that people resonate with. I remember when a young marketing gal came out of the college and wanted to get a job at Ford, she came up to me at the Detroit Auto Show and she asked me a question about that display up there in the upper left. And she said, Mr. Clor, I have a question. They said, you know a little bit about a Mustang? I go, yeah, a little bit. But what's your question? She says, why did they put that rusty car next to our new Bullet? This is when you want to just run screaming from the building. I had to just tell her that rusty car is the reason why we have a Bullet. That was the actual Bullet. And she didn't understand it. I don't know if she didn't ever. I mean, everybody saw the movie, right? We all saw this. I mean, you guys, I know you guys have seen this movie. You all saw McQueen, the way he was driving. Everybody knows about Steve McQueen and the Bullet Mustang. But how come people didn't know say about John Clor and the Bullet Mustang? Okay, well, maybe, what? You guys think that was Photoshop? Okay, well, maybe I wasn't driving. Maybe I was speaking during the chasing, because I do a lot of speaking with clubs. That could be possible, right? No, because it says Carlisle Ford National. Okay, I forget that one. But what was true was I was able to sit in the actual Bullet 2 years before you even knew about it, because club enthusiasts wanted to launch the announcement that the Bullet was found and back before Ford was going to launch. So I had to talk to Sean Kernan, please don't tell anybody, wait 2 years, Ford's going to come out with a Bullet. And then you know what happened, we actually did wait, and we came out together, and it was the right thing to do. So, but why am I acting like a 12-year-old just met Christmas? Because I'm sitting in the same seat that Steve McQueen sat in. That's why we're all young at heart and love this hobby so much. So why I say that is because we need to understand what drives our preferences and why we're in the club and what we can do in the club to make it more shareable to young people that don't understand our love for these crazy cars, and they just don't get it. So, and when they do get it, they don't want to share that with us. They want to do it in their own little Facebook group or whatever. And how can we become one again and enjoy this hobby together? So that's what I want to do. Now, I can start off by saying we don't all appreciate the same Mustang, but let's just ask yourselves as club members, board members, or anybody who's been on Valley Forge for a while, if any of these questions, can you answer any of these questions positively? Do you have really good answers here that you know your Valley Forge Mustang Club is doing these kinds of things that it, one guy told me he really didn't like the idea. I asked him about marketing because he said, marketing's a waste of money. I said, as much as we give to charity, the club has to invest in itself, because without you investing in yourself and getting new members, you won't be able to raise money for charity. So these things are all very important. So these are the questions I'm going to try to help you answer tonight, and try to give to at least some of these questions.
Yeah.
Can you all see them?
I mean,
Can you all see the questions? Everybody?
I thought that was pre-recorded.
No, I'm not pre-recorded. I'm right here.
Recorded was not that bad.
Everybody see that? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good.
So let's go on and show. Here's a picture of my backyard, and I do this because I wanted to show that not everybody really likes every Mustang, and that I've done my part to bring. You can't have six kids and not invite the second one to Christmas dinner. You just can't do that. They're all part of your family, and they all played an important role. So that's we don't all love every Mustang the same. We love them all, but not the same. So how do we, first of all, bring in the people that we don't share the same, we're not the Chartreuse Mustang registry. Why are we divided? So some of the things we have to ask ourselves is, like, are these guys going to be welcome at your show coming up this summer? So when they pull in, I don't know who's doing a registration for Valley Forge. When they pull in, do you say, you got the wrong place? We don't appreciate the way everybody personalizes their Mustang. So you might just tell them to leave, or you might say, you can park back there by the dumpster, like the MCA used to tell me when I had a second-gen Mustang. But this is what I'm telling you, that some people just have different tastes. And what about these guys? Now, I don't know if you love your Fox body so much that you want to weld it onto an S197, or that if maybe you're a trucker and just like the exhaust and you want to put that. But some of these guys would not get, let's say, favorable comments, if you will, at your club show. Maybe sometimes we could just go and smile and kick the tire anyway. Or what about these guys? Now, the good news is on the left, we now make a Ford Bronco, so you don't have to have a all four-wheel drive vehicle that you can't fall in love with. And for the vehicle on the right, I just did want to pass along word that after that interior was finished, there was a national shortage of velour. We could not find it anywhere. So anyway, so some of the Mustangs we see are just hard to look at. They're not our taste. So, and we don't want a lot of these guys. I know one of the club members, and I'm not going to name the club, told me, a lot of these cars we don't want in the club because they're just rolling projects. Well, what's the problem with letting a rolling project have a project car area where they can get advice? Not a bad idea. This guy, on the other hand, the question is, what size wheel is too big for a Mustang? And if you look at the picture on the right, Kemal Kurik, who I interviewed for my Mustang 2015 book, who designed the rear end of the S550, said to me when I showed him this picture, Clor, who was this man? So he wanted to know who did that to the S550. So not everything is hunky-dory in our hobby. Everybody's got different tastes, but I just wanted to show you that maybe sometimes when it comes to project cars or cars in progress, those are things we can allow. So let's consider these questions. If you can answer some of these, I remember when Mustang Club shows were only for first gens. I remember I've been to car shows where pretty much it's all late models, and I'm not real pleased with seeing all. If I want to see like all S550s and S197s, I would go to the Ford dealership. I love when people bring their first gens, and I know they still have points and bias ply tires and the battery's dead. but bringing our classics, our first, second, and third gen Mustangs in our Fox bodies really make a difference. And then once you can do that, you need to understand the role that have those classic Mustangs play in bringing young people to the show, because they see plenty of new Mustangs on the road. What they want to see is the classics. Well, we have studied what they wanted, and we've done 5 years of research with them, and now we have some answers. So the first answer we came up with is Club Connect. If you haven't been to FordPerformanceClubConnect.com, that means you must get fast news and already read our enthusiast news every week, because if you get that email newsletter, everything that's on our enthusiast section is in the newsletter. But for those of you who don't get it, you can simply go to Ford Performance Club Connect every Thursday, look on the right rail for enthusiast news, and see, hopefully you'll see yourself after this meeting, because some of you who have not been in the Ford fan spotlight after tonight will send me a picture of your car and a little write-up, and I'll put you in the fan spotlight, and I'll send it out to 370,000 people in the email blast, and then put it on a website that has 1.87 million visitors. That'd be kind of cool. You'd be a rock star. But clubconnect.com is the place where you go when people call us and say, hey, you know, I just bought a Taurus show. Is there a club for that? We'll go look on the map. I just bought a Mustang too. Go look on the map. And there's a map like the old MCA map, only ours is updated every 6 months. And the people there have contact information that is viable. And then we also connect with all of those other people. So if you have a Facebook group and you're a member of a Facebook group and you go to Club Connect tonight and you don't see it, register it. It's fast, it's easy, and it's free. If you don't register it when we go to your town or do something, we can't send you information of what's going on. So your club is disconnected from the Ford world. And there's no reason for it to be that way. Also, all the enthusiast news you'll see on Club Connect is yours to keep. You can steal it, share it, put it on your own site. So that's what it looks like on the Ford enthusiast section. You have the newsroom and clubs and groups, events. We have what's happening and fast news. It's not open right now for more subscriptions, so you just go to Club Connect to read it. But if you do get it on Thursday, it's all about you. I'm not selling anything with fast news. I'm just talking about the things that we love to talk about. Mustangs and Fords and cool stuff in the hobby. So did you guys know that on What's Happening, we write custom promotions for all the car shows? And when you send your car show information to clubhub@ford.com, we'll write a promotion that goes out to 1.5 million people about your car show. Now, does Bob want 1.5 million people showing up at your next show? No, we won't have parking for them. But you want 1.5 million people to know about Valley Ford, that's for sure. And to know that you have, if you get a Mustang and you're in that area, join the club. So this is what we do right now for clubs at Ford Motor Company. I don't know if you can find any other auto manufacturer that does what we do just for the 3 parts of being a customer. And we do a digital part of it, we do an outreach part, and we do the info center. So the digital part, you know about FordPerformance.com. If you're not reading it, you're missing out on a lot of great stuff. It's all about you and your friends. So you want to go to the enthusiast section of FordPerformance.com every week and read it. And the newsletter, which I said you can get on Club Connect. We are on Facebook and Twitter and all the social media. But we do this promotion. We do What's Happening. We put you in there. We do on-site event coverage. You'll see me at car shows. And sometimes I'm actually able to come to your car show, set up my Transit 10x10 and give away free posters and free prizes, help you with judging, and interact with your club members just so that they want to talk to somebody from Ford. We can be there. Nobody does that. No, clubhub@ford.com, you have your own email. Send a note, an email, a question, anything to clubhub@ford.com, and Marcus, my associate, monitors that every week, and we will answer you back. It goes to a real person. We do meet and greets, we do event presentations like we're doing tonight. You have a direct connection to the company, and sometimes you'll even be able to get the Ford Performance event trailer. You can reach us. You can call 1-800-FORD-788. Oh, I have Ford SVT. I can't say SVT anymore. Okay. It's Ford 788. But can you call any of those dancing hamsters right now? I didn't think so. But you can call us. And when you call the Ford Performance Info Center, you don't get a fast food headset phone jockey. You don't get, hello, this is Bob. It's not like IT support for Amazon. You get real Ford guys. I mean, Steve's got a 600 horsepower Falcon. I mean, the guys that you call there are real Ford enthusiasts. So I think this is great. But guess what? I think this isn't enough. We need to do more. So we've created Club Connect, and there's just a picture of the map when we first started. We're going to fill this map with all 800 Ford Facebook pages and clubs, no matter what kind of Ford vehicle you have. 2 clubs up in Seattle. Why did I do this? Well, 2 reasons. Why, when Mark Schaller was marketing manager and he took Bullet across the country, he went across Route 66 and he got on the MCA website and started calling the clubs on there and never got answers. So I started picking it up, and I found out at 2 weeks later, hey, have you been trying to get in touch with Bill? Yeah, we were coming through your town. We wanted to tell you we had a whole Ford trailer there. And why didn't Bill call me back? Well, he passed away 2 years ago. Well, you have him, you listed as your president, still on your website. You haven't updated your site since 2016. And we all know that Facebook's a horrible place to run a business. So I've had 2 clubs in Seattle. One was Fiesta Boys, and one was Fiesta Guys with a Z. And they didn't know they were 40 miles apart until they saw each other on the map and then called each other. Now, instead of a 20-car show, they have a 40-car show. This is why we needed to connect. And that's why we created Club Connect for you, to put your events on. You can even, every club has their own bio. You can put your own information so people can know more about you and connect with you, and when you compete in a region. And then you can ask yourself, if I'm part of Club Connect and now I'm connected to Ford, how can I solve these problems for Valley Forge Mustang Club? When I look at our events, when I look at what are we actively doing other than hoping, praying, please, Lord, let somebody under the age of 50 help us at the car show? What are you doing to have activities like that? And what are your events and meetings doing like that? Are you investing in that? So to help you figure that out, this guy was turned away from a Mustang Club show last year. And you know what the guy at the gate told him? Come back when you get it painted. Unfortunately, this 23-year-old owner said, sir, it is painted. I murdered it out. Now, why wouldn't we let this guy in a car show? Just, again, even if it's a Project Mustang or Project Ford, they should have their own spot. They want to get advice. The clubs are the best place in the world to get any kind of car advice. We all know that. So I think this is the issue. The question you have to ask yourself as a club, do you want to be the club with the show on the left, or do you want to be the club with the show that's shown on the right picture? Of course, that right picture is from...
Right.
Yeah. That's Scottsdale Pavilions. You guys have been there. So we ask about 10,000 young people who, by the way, do come to our car shows. They don't necessarily they don't pull their cars in. Some of them park in your visitor's lot or just park and walk across the street. They'll push their baby carriage if they're married with their young wives and they want to see the old cars, but they're not a member. But they love seeing the Mustangs. And we said, well, why aren't you a member? You had a Mustang, you parked across the street. What will it take? Well, here's what some of them told us. They said, well, I'd want to do things differently. I said, okay, give me what would a show, what if a Valley Forge had a young, say a new gen night, what would it need to have you come? They said, well, you know what, nothing against, we don't get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and get our car there and then sit in a hot parking lot for 10 hours polishing our car and then at 3 o'clock go home and with a plastic trophy. That's not our idea of fun. I said, well, okay, fine. Then what is your idea of fun? Not that we're going to give up our car shows. They said, well, we like doing other things. Like we like to go to a member's house to do a tour of their garage. If they're doing a brake job, if they're doing something cool in their Mustang, we'll do that for just on a Tuesday night. We also know some guys that have really cool man caves. Now, sometimes we'll just go to watch a hockey game or whatever's going on and talk Mustangs, but we do these regularly scheduled man cave visits. Or sometimes we found there's a cool car place in town, either a restaurant or some place that has a slot car set or a museum, and we'll do a happening night where we just all cruise to that night and go to see a cool car place together and share that, because a lot of us don't know how to get there or would rather go with friends than by yourselves. Sometimes some of these young people get together just with their cameras just to do a drive to go to a park and do a video shoot or a photo shoot together. They call it photo night or video night. And then they post those photos and videos on their club Facebook pages. They prefer late afternoon or early evening gatherings. I can tell you, after my millennial finally moved out, he didn't get up much before 2 o'clock. Yeah, when he lived in my basement. But they said, they would like something that starts, 3, 4 o'clock, maybe early evening, maybe do an open show where some of their buddies who have Subarus or whatever, they can hang out in their own section, but have some live music, maybe a food truck or a beverage truck where we can walk around and kick tires. No really judging unless you want to do People's Choice that night and give away something cool. A lot of them have these kind of gatherings and they have games. They'll play cornhole. Some guys will bring RC cars. Some of these people bring those big wheels for kids, and these young teens and 20-somethings race around and crash into each other and scuff up their skinny jeans.
I was a woman.
That's right. That's right. And they do that too. And then some of them just like to parade, do just or cruise and then go someplace after their party, like a restaurant together, or just do a bonfire. And I asked senior members of a club, if you had your regular car show and you had like a new gen car show like this, would you go? Do you know that most members who had been in the club for more than 20 years thought that any of these things that are on this list is something they'd enjoy? So how about that? Here are what, 3, 6, 9, 8 things that young people would like to see in a club and they would like to do. And if your club had that, they would be interested. And yet, guess what? It wouldn't alienate your current membership. They might even like doing that as well with them. And that doesn't mean you have to change your car show or change anything you currently do now. So these are the things we learned after talking to these. This isn't just 10 kids. We've talked to hundreds and hundreds of young 30 and 20 somethings and got these ideas. And this is just some of them. Yes, Ford Performance, there's my transit up at the left-hand corner when I back in and set up, and I'll meet with people and I give stuff away. That we have the info center. We come to shows. I've seen you guys at Carlisle. We have track events. We offer certificates of authenticity. Why? Because we get it. We understand. Why do we understand what being a car enthusiast and a club member is? Because we are one. All of us are in clubs. We all do this anyway. This is what we do. So we're thinking now, and this is just secret, don't pass this around, to take Club Connect to the next level and do a world registry of all Ford vehicles whose entry is through your VIN number. And yes, we're working with somebody like a guy named Kevin Marty with something like this, a world registry. So this time when you come in, are you a club to register on Club Connect, or are you an owner? And if you're an owner, would you like to register your car and find, let's say you have a yellow Terminator. Would you like to find all the yellow Terminators on the East Coast of the United States and find out, hey, where'd you get those wheels and what do you do? That's how we'd like to set it up. So maybe like we do the club page, we could do an owner page where you can find everybody that has a car that you have or shares the same interest you have, rather than have 80,000 different registries where you can just contact anybody with the same Mustang. This is an idea we've been working on for 2 years. And the reason we want to do this, because if you start out giving little kids the little cars and playing and including them, we think when they grow up, they're going to be the kid on the right who's taking that little car and now wants to join the Mustang world and the Mustang hobby and be part of this exciting, fun thing, which we do. And we know we love it because, we're still doing it for all these years, right? So that's the new ideas we're having. We have real specifics in a club summit. And what we're doing is setting up a car club council. We still do design great cars and trucks. The world is changing. It may change significantly in the next 5, 6, 8 years. So we still want to be able to enjoy the cars that make us smile. And for us to do that, the way to do it is to get together as one, not as one club, but as one Ford universe. And I think if we can do that, you'll see we can band together and make this a better world in the Mustang world to enjoy what we love more. And if we can build these things together, which I think we can, and I can share with you by putting together a group of 10 regional club, I call them councils, and have your Valley Forge Club be in the Eastern Council. And then I can share specifics on all of these things, on how to do it, how to raise money, how to get sponsors, how to get young people with each regional club. And then Ford can then support one regional event in your area and spread that across the U.S., which is the other program I'm working on. If we can do that and join together, I think we're going to have a bright future, no matter what the future holds for Mustang lovers. But here's the problem, guys. I can't do it by myself. It's something that I'm going to need all the clubs buy-in on. And I remember I'm not going to tell you where, but it was in the Southwest. I went in and I gave this presentation to him, and I said, I talked to a lot of young people today that they're not in the club, and here's what the club president said. I don't want any young people in our club. I said, what? He said, yeah, they're a pain in the ass. So I just said, well, okay, but whenever you all, one by one, when you all leave, your club will eventually go out of business. So hopefully you'll understand. I like having those young folks. You know, some of these clubs were letting the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts do the cooking, the hot dogs and hamburgers rather than have a food truck. Others had, one guy had a 67 Mustang. He put on it was going to get, it was a fastback, and he was going to restore it until he went to the sandblaster and came back from media blasting and found out it was Swiss cheese. Well, he didn't want to tell his wife that he had to throw the thing away, so he left it on the trailer in the driveway. And what happened, his little fifth grader, his girl, they had a little party at their house, and they got their sidewalk chalk. And guess what they did to his primered 67 fastback that he was going to send to the scrapyard? They decorated it with sidewalk chalk, which gave him an idea. He trailered that car, he washed it off, trailered it to his car show, put the fifth grade against the sixth grade in the school. They had 100 kids come out. The sixth grade did one side, the fifth grade did the other, and the club gave away McDonald's gift cards and prizes to the, now every year they've have 200-300 kids coming to that show just to chalk up an old Mustang that was going to make the scrapyard and now is still on that trailer. And that's just one example of what some of these clubs are doing. And those are the kinds of things that I can share by having Valley Forge and all the clubs that being part of Club Connect and be on this regional council we're trying to set up. So that's why I'm trying to share that. So tonight, just wanted to pass along that for those of you who are armchair members, and you know, just nod your head, yeah, that would be cool to get active, because I can tell you this, what I've found from talking to young folks who want to be in the hobby, they feel intimidated when they pull up with their beat up SN95 and you have a 100 point Concours 66 convertible. Not every nut and bolt on that SN95 has been anodized, but they feel really welcome when you talk to them. Hey, what's your car? Or you say, you know what, that's how I started in the hobby. I started with an old beater, or I started this way. And they love be able to get the I would call it the passing of the torch, if you will. It's going to happen from us. Trust me when I tell you this, Ford Motor Company will be unable to pass the hobby down to young people. You, club members, enthusiasts, only Ford enthusiasts who own these Fords can pass it down, because you're the ones that the young people respect. You own and drive these cars, and they love to interact with you. So if you can get active in your club and interact with them on that level, invite them, try some of these ideas. Schools are a great place to invite them. Come to do parades at the schools, do Mustang Day at the schools, even if it's a photography class at the community college or the high school, or a writing class. One club had their English class come out. They interviewed a bunch of people at the car show, took pictures and wrote stories for the journalism class. And then they came to the club meeting, and the best story got a Applebee's card. And now the school every year does all the writing for the club newsletter because they want to get involved. And oh, by the way, when you bring young people to a Mustang show, they love it. So it's so easy to get started when you see how other clubs have done it. And I want you to think about getting active. And if you have a Facebook group that seems to be more active, register them on Club Connect. Have the Facebook group interact with the club and figure out how your club can include them as well. And how do you get this stuff? You read it and you share it. And when you read our new fast news on every week on Ford Performance Club Connect, rip it off. As long as you say, this came from FordPerformance.com, put it in your newsletter, put it on your Facebook page, take the pictures. It's yours. I do this every week for you. And then, of course, follow us. And if you have a question, you can call us, you can email us, and you can stay connected. And we can then help you by forming these councils next year, getting all this nitty-gritty information on how clubs are successful, getting it into your hands so you as a club and as a board and as a member can decide, hey, do we want to try one of these things? What would it hurt? Except if you're not really good at a bonfire, don't burn anybody's house down. That would be terrible. But so that's my little presentation tonight. I want to now open it up for questions to see if you have what your response is to this, and what you think about what I've presented, and where you think we should try to take it from here. Or would Valley Forge be interested in being in a regional council and learning way more about what makes these clubs successful? I'll open it up for questions right now. I'll stop sharing so you can see my mug. Okay.
Well, I think that that's something we'd be very interested. We got to get together with the board and talk about this exactly, so we can get in, register it with one unified voice. But always with a club like this, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. Okay, it's hard to stay the same. Okay, so that's a real concern for us. And so yeah, I think it's a very interesting idea.
Well, all I know is that I didn't share anything that hasn't worked. When I went down to South Texas Mustang Club and we pulled in, I just want to know where, I said, hey, is anybody any board members here? And they were the board, but there wasn't a board member under the age of, or over the age of 30. So some clubs have transitioned into all young people, which is fine, but except I don't like doing a lot of things they do. If you read my column in Mustang Times, sometimes I talk about, ageism, and, we don't want to be painted into a corner either. But at the same time, there's so much fun stuff we can do with the school system and young people and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and get them actively involved. Kids love cars, and the earlier the better. I know one guy at our club on the western side of the state had a T-Bird, and he came to the car show and he said, sit in it and win a prize, but you have to be under 12. So kids lined up and sat in his T-Bird. It had that swing away wheel. Remember those, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
So all the kids got in there, the parents took a picture, and guess what he gave them? He gave them a 99-cent Hot Wheels car. And every year now, the line gets 50 kids long. Hey, Dad, can I go to the car show with you this year? Last year, I sat in that Thunderbird and I got a prize. So now, when you do little things like that, you get families that come together, they bring their kids, and when there are things for them to do, one club down in Carolina set up a tent where the Boy Scouts were, no, I think wasn't the Boy Scouts. Can't remember. It might have been the 4-H club or one of the kids, like 4 guys who are running it. The club bought 5 Power Wheels Mustangs. They kept 4 of them charged up and one was constantly charging. And they did 5-year-old races, 5 and 6-year-olds in a 10 by 20 tent with cones around it. And these 5 and 6-year-olds were swapping paint by the second lap just to win a prize. And they kept charging the cars. It was the biggest family, and parents were laughing and howling. Kids were screaming to be in line. And it was the club said it's $2 a ticket. The club made like $500 just having kids. And it was a riot to watch. These kinds of things happen all over the country. And because I get to go there on Ford's Nickel and come back, I don't want to just say, well, that was fun. I want to share all the cool things I've seen. So that's what being on the council would do for Valley Forge. And that's why I'm thinking, when you can hear all these cool ideas, and maybe not all of them are good for everybody, but maybe if you pick up 1 or 2 and it dynamically changes with the way things happen, why not? That's why I say. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about Club Connect, at least right now? And I know on timing, everybody asked me about timing. We hope to get a word on a world registry sometime this summer. Of the 10 regional councils, if you will, to set up, 3 of them have been set up. So I've got 7 more to go. It's not part of my deliverable. I'm still writing, editing, traveling, supporting clubs, promoting them, sending out stuff. I still do all that, but this is kind of like a side project of mine, because I just thought to myself, you can get any yo-yo to come in here and write this stuff and send out wristbands. And, when I'm gone, some kid can do this. But it takes being in a club world for a long time to understand what's happening. And if I can do something more as your enthusiast communications manager and help clubs grow and be more fun for everybody, then I've done something more than they just pay me to be communications. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm doing this. And that's why it's not going as fast as it should, because it comes out of, I'm supposed to paint the kitchen. Don't tell anybody. I just finished doing the laundry room last winter. So I do this on my own time, and then Ford appreciates it. But I think there's valid points in there. And if you guys think I should keep chasing it and set up this council with Ford, if I get good feedback, I'm going to do it. If you guys think it's a dumb, stupid idea, tell me. Please be honest with me.
No, I don't think. Well, one of the questions that we kind of haven't addressed yet is with the Mach-E. Okay, will that be a Mustang as far as the Mustang Club is concerned? You don't have to own a Mustang to be in the Valley Forge Mustang Club,
Good.
but people. There's some people who don't think that calling the Mach-E a Mustang was, maybe the greatest thing that ever happened. And so,
So, I really like this job. You must all know that, right? I've been doing this for a long time. So, I don't know if any of you have read my Mustang Times columns on Mach-E. After I wrote the first one, they told me never write about it again if you want to keep your job. So, I understand all that. I completely get it. I mean, I'm a marketer, and I'm also a traditionalist. And, a Mustang, to me, defined an entire segment. So that now unfortunately, after 50 years, now the segment defines it. Mustang is a pony car. So when Ford decides, like when they took the Cougar name and put it on a wood grain station wagon, there goes Cougar. That it meant something to me in 1968, but once you do that, it's like when GTO was put on a Holden car bar of soap imported for GM. Was that a GTO? Not really. But when I brought that up to the Mach-E team and told them what is going to happen from traditionalists, one of those kids who had a skinny jeans and a man bun, I think he had a Merce too. He said to me, "Oh, we're not really worried about you old people. You're all going to be dead in 10 years. I said, "Oh, that's good." I said, "Here's a problem with you, Sonny. First of all, not just your haircut, but if you don't be nice to us in these next 10 years, today, the people who are buying the GT500s aren't you. It's us older folks that know what a GT500 is, and they're paying $80,000 for a Mustang. The future is going to be funded by today. What we sell right now, the people you make happy right now, will give you the ability to sell things in the future. So if you don't understand us, you're not going to make it there. You won't be selling anything. You'll be working at McDonald's with your master's degree." So when I told them that, they asked me to leave. But anyway, so my Mustang Club is having a Mustang J Drive like everybody else, and Mach-E wants to come out. And they said, "John, did you know the Mach-E's coming out to the Mustang Day Drive?" And I said, "Well, why didn't you ask him for a Mustang?" So I can't talk about, my personal feelings. Ford decided that this is a Mustang, and Dave Parasak will tell you it handles, it's got the look. Is it a 4-door electric SUV? Yes. But if the Mustang brand is to survive, they're going to have to expand the brand into a family of vehicles. And if we're going to make a gasoline powered pony car, we're going to need to make money on credits and electric, whatever, all the green climate credits and carbon footprints, sell enough of those Mustangs so that we can make the Mustang that we actually like. So I get all that. I get it's a business. Do I think it's the greatest idea ever? No, but it's Ford's decided that's the Mustang of the future, and it's going to be, hey, if we're going to get a Mustang pickup truck or a Mustang station wagon, Bud McGaldy, who did your SN95s, actually drew a Mustang station wagon. I think some of you guys may have seen my presentation when I showed that car. But if that's what Ford needs to do to keep the brand going, I'd rather do that. Or would you rather, like John Clor once just said, I wish they'd just kill the damn thing rather than bastardize it. So that was his, why, when the Probe was going to come out and they're going to make that the Mustang, John fell on his sword. And John's not part of the hobby anymore. He's still upset with Ford. I still want to work for Ford and support them. And if they believe that they can make hay, their idea was Mustang is the coolest thing at Ford. And there are people, believe it or not, outside of Pennsylvania and the East Coast, and who believe Tesla is the coolest thing in the world. There are people in California, we did research, that didn't know that Mustang was made by Ford.
Wow.
They know what a Mustang is, but they couldn't tell you what a Ford looked like. So the idea was, if we're going to compete with the coolest thing on the planet, which was Tesla cool, we'll give them our number one cool thing and out-cool them, make something less expensive, faster, more room, better mileage, better range, and built better, because we actually know how to build cars. And that's the strategy. I understand that as a business. I don't as a Mustang person, but my job is to communicate for the brand team, and hopefully they'll sell a lot of those vehicles and it'll make enough carbon credits so I can have a 900 horsepower gasoline V8 when gas is $30 a gallon. So, so that's
So question then, and objectively now, just put any biases aside, and obviously the market's going to dictate the future of these two vehicles riding side. Well, if they're going to ride side by side, if the Mach-E is going to go the route of the Probe, is it really going to be the next as time goes on? What does your crystal ball see as far as the two riding side by side?
Well, what I do see is I see young people, and they'd say, "I buy a Mustang, but I can't." They're young marrieds and they have a dog. I can't get my dog in it. It's a two-door. I like Mustang. I like the whole idea of Mustang. I like speed. I like style. I like performance, but I can't. It won't work for me. So they buy a Subaru Outback. Lord help us all. So now when this comes out, the Mach-E comes out cool. It looks like a Mustang. It's fast. It's electric. It's, so the young people that they've surveyed think this is cool. They say Ford is not this company admired 116 years ago. We've got 116 years of innovation, and we've created segments before. We created, hell, we put the world on wheels with the Model T. Mm-hmm. We didn't invent the car. We just made it, tangible for people and something they can use. So if this Mustang is what they think it is, and if we are heading in that way, then I think and it's opening those doors to Ford. The more Ford customers we have, the more Ford will make money here. Ford could build a car on the moon, or they could build a car on Mars, and all the money would come to Detroit, Michigan. Whereas if you buy an import car, all the money is exported overseas. So they understand that if Detroit, Michigan, and Ford Motor Company is headquartered here, and we make great products as an American car company, that we believe that's the future. I see young people accepting it. I see a lot of Mustang fans, longtime club members buying Mach-E's. He goes, one guy out of New York told me he just bought a Mach-E, and he said, I told my buddy that I was going to buy a Mach-E. He has a 66 Shelby, and he's got a 69 Mach 1. He just bought a Mach-E. He said, I told my buddy up in Long Island that I just got a Mach-E, and the guy said, I had a Mach-E in 1970. I had a Mach-E Brougham. It had Landau bars on the roof. I've had a Mach-E for a long time. I said, no, tell him it's a Mach-E, not a Mach-E Brougham. Yeah. So I see it opening some doors right now. And here's the cool thing. If it's a flop and, they can, like Ford said, when they went all trucks, the top hats on these vehicles underneath them are our cars. If you don't like the vehicle that's up top, it's, underneath that edge is an Escape, or is a Fusion, and underneath the Escape is a Fiesta. So, we can change the top hats faster than we can completely change cars. So Ford's trying to be flexible and see the future. If that is the future, I think, unfortunately, the future's kind of been decided for us politically, then the market would dictate. It may take, all I know is it's, the average age of a car is 12 years in the US. It's going to take 12 years if everybody tomorrow could buy a new car, it's going to take another decade for that to happen. So I'm willing to support the Mach-E and help try to sell it, because it's a great electric car. And if young people say, oh, I want to be in the Mustang Club with my Mach-E because now I can put my dog in it and I think I'm saving the planet, and that's debatable. Well, that's totally up to them. And I'm happy to have them in the hobby. So I'm as personally, I not only have to do that to, continue my work at Ford, but I think it's good for the hobby to include all this stuff. Like I showed you earlier, I didn't want to put a Mach-E in with those other crazy looking cars, because that's going to be that's what I was talking about when I talk about acceptance. We have to open our minds to acceptance and open our mind to that Ford is building a 4-door electric sport utility, and they called it a Mustang. Don't I have a great life?
John, thanks.
Now do you want to be me? I didn't think so.
Yeah.
John, thanks for the presentation. It was very helpful and informative.
Oh, good.
Staying on the challenge, is there anything you can say around Ford having truly an electric Mustang as we would know it, as opposed to an SUV? Is that something that they're looking at as part of
that's a great question. Well, Dave Parasak is the head of our Icons group, and he tried to explain to people, we got to sell these electric Mustangs to make the gas Mustangs that we love. But if there is a critical mass that we make with these cars, then it just makes sense that once we develop a platform that more and more cars are going to have to be on that platform, it just makes sense that we do a two-door coupe. And yes, we showed you. One of our suppliers actually did an electric Mustang. We showed it earlier in the year in an S550 body. Can it be done? Yes. So the question is, the business case is it makes more sense. You'll sell more vehicles that have more utility right off the get-go than you would if we'd come out with just an electric S550, because the broader consumer base is wanting this car that these young people are saying, I need room for my dog and my kayak. And I remember when I was at a Mustang, it was what they call a research session 10 years ago. And I remember, but back when, I think it was when the S197 came out, and they were showing me the target customer, this guy named Todd. And here's this target customer. And I remember him, a picture of this kid at a lake, and he put a kayak on the roof of his S197. And I raised my hand and I go, hey, Mr. Clor. I said, yeah, listen, I've been in the Mustang hobby for decades, and I've met thousands of Mustang owners from coast to coast, thousands of them. I've never seen anybody buy a new Mustang and tie a boat to its roof. So I don't know who this target customer is, but you guys in the research center should go to a club show and talk to real owners. They're not going to tie a kayak to the roof of their Mustang. Now, would they tie it to the roof of their Mach-E? They might. So you have to understand, I think once we can get critical mass with the vehicle that they'll gain biggest sales, then we can niche off of that and do Mustangs that we recognize as more Mustang. And yeah, that's a possibility, absolutely a possibility. And it all depends on how successful these forays into the EV world go. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, please don't ask me any more questions about this, because you're killing me. Dave Parasak, I love him. He's my friend, and I'm trying to help him sell EVs, and Emma Berg and all those people out there. So I'm trying to support them, but I hear you and I understand you. And there are people at the company that all get it, but it was culture shock for us. But you know what? It doesn't. Ford Motor Company controls the products they sell, and they will control that whether we like it or not. But guess what, guys? Everybody who's looking at me right now, you control the hobby. The hobby is going to be, you're going to control the celebrated cars. Nobody can buy that from you. You'll decide whose cars get celebrated, and which cars get celebrated. So I just hope that I never see, right now, I don't see any club meetings for the Camry. Do you? Yeah. Oh, best selling car. You see where's the Kia Soul club meeting tonight? The hamsters there? They're hanging out with them? No. See, so I just want to keep this a Mustang thing or a Ford thing. And as long as we can make a car that connects with people and there's a club for them and we can have a lot of fun together, let them in, give them a spot, hopefully buy a charger. Let them be next to the door with the extension cord. That's fine. They're all going to be part of it. That's what I mean about acceptance. Well, let's accept these guys in, move on, and we will decide as a club what we want and who we celebrate. Some clubs have actually gone off, and got shrunk in size. We only have first gens, or we only want blue Mustangs, the red Mustang red, the yellow Mustang red. I get all that. So, but you decide as Valley Forge what you want and who you want to include. And my suggestion is be as inclusive and as understanding as where the market's going as you can. Bring all Fords together, no matter what Ford brands them. The Edsel had two models. The Pacer was one of my favorites. That became a pretty ugly car. There was the Edsel Ranger. That became a truck. So time to just let Ford decide what they want to build and let us decide what we're going to celebrate. It's all in your hands, folks.
I got the question, not even about electric car, but the Mach 1. Or is there going to be a shaker hood option at some point?
Okay, that was the number one question, obviously, when we saw it in development. And on the business case side, the car is very expensive. It's already was over cost. And they said putting a shaker on that engine the way it was set up brought no benefit whatsoever. And also there are some federal regulations about air inlets that really caused us a lot of problems. So they decided not to do it as part of the base program. And I know an aftermarket company was so happy because they said, we'll offer a shaker hood package and they're going to be run off to the, the aftermarket is going to supply that much. I have a shaker on my 06 Mustang convertible. Ford did not make it.
No.
And, but I liked it. And that's why it's on my car. But right now, the aftermarket's going to address that. They'll put shakers on Mach 1s. And if Ford sees, just like the reason I showed you that Mustang 2, Cobra 2, that car was maybe let's see if there's any interest in it. And if Ford, if there's interest in the shaker and there's a big take rate, it'll come in-house, just like the Cobra 2 came in-house. They were shocked at the take rate, how many people wanted it, and that poor little company, Motortown Corporation, was going to do the conversions, couldn't keep up. So if that's the case, if people vote with their feet in their wallets, and if the Mach 1 really needs that, and people keep asking for it, or Ford sees a lot of lost revenue because they don't have a shaker package, the answer to your question is they'll definitely look at it. They have looked at it. In fact, that's what I miss about not working in Dearborn, seeing all the stuff running around. And oh, I know what that is. I miss it. Any other questions I can answer for you? Okay. Just again, I just wanted to, the reason I'm throwing all this out here is because there's going to be some changes. You've already mentioned with the Mach-E Mustang and all the changes in our Ford product world's happening every day. Young people are becoming a bigger segment of the buying public, and so we have to listen to them. But we're still the biggest segment of the enthusiast world. So the more inclusive we can be, the more we can pass this down, the more acceptance they'll have of these fantastic first, second, third, fourth, fifth gen Mustangs, and even sixth gen, which will be a collector's item. Everything you own, just understand this. I know that if you're owning a Mustang and you're in Valley Forge right now, you're already cooler than most people. So understand, don't feel bad about it. I know it's going to offend people and you can't offend anybody these days, but guess what? I hate to say it. No, actually, I like to say it. We're just cooler and we understand cars better. And that's why you're important to Ford, because you understand cars. People see you as a car expert. Hey, you're in that club. You know about cars. My daughter wants to buy a Kia. And you go, what? I don't want to see in a Kia. There's no fun day in a Hyundai. You don't get a lease on a Nissan. Do I like Toyota? Not one iota. You can't go fond of a Honda. You buy a Ford. So that's why your value to the company is so high. You buy the products that are the best, highest end products, because you don't need to buy an entry-level car anymore. You've worked all your life for your reward. So that's why your value is there. And if I have anything to say about it or anything to do with it, we're going to make our voices heard and grow this hobby as big as we can so that we can ride this Mustang right off into the sunset. Sound crazy?
No.
That's good.
No.
That sounds good.
I swear there's nothing in my Pepsi. Just Pepsi. Okay, so I want you all to have a good night. I hope to see you, some of you at least, come to Carlisle. I don't know if I'll be giving a seminar there. Come see me. I'll be driving around. Make sure you fly your Club Connect flag on your tent. If you don't have it, come see me or Marcus Savantis. We'll bring our Club Connect flag, that little red one you guys should all have, and a big one for you. Because I've given you a presentation, you now deserve the big 9-foot vinyl Club Connect banner. So I'll have those in my transit at Carlisle. Come see me. Let's hang it on your tent. And let's go have fun on the Mustangs that we know and love. And if it's an electric future for those kids, let them all come in. It's one big party.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for your time tonight. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Invite me back
Thanks.
again. We'll talk later. Good night.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. I'm glad to do it.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.